Hello, listeners. This is Jesse.
This is Greg.
And you're listening to Spoilers Are Good Actually, a podcast where we revisit some of our old favorite shows and talk about how knowing the ending affects our experience the second time through.
Today we're watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 1, Chapter 12, The Storm. This podcast is called Spoilers Are Good Actually. We have two sections, a spoiler section and a non-spoiler section. Non-spoiler section will come first. It assumes that you've watched only the 12 episodes that we're discussing. The spoiler section assumes that you've watched all of Avatar, Legend of Korra, any of the comics. Any material relating to Avatar: The Last Airbender is fair game in the spoiler section. So we encourage you to stay for it, but if you're uncomfortable, you can always check out at that point.
And one quick content note, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a kid's show, but this is not a kid's podcast. We won't be going into any more dark or mature themes than the show itself does, but we will be using adult language, so listener be warned.
Yeah, The Storm.
Finally, a good fucking episode.
The Storm's just a refreshing episode right after your least favorite episode of the entire series.
Yeah, last week was a struggle, but it's okay because it got us here.
It's great because we get, they've been hinting at the backstories for Zuko and Aang this entire time, and we finally get to watch, what exactly happened, what led to Zuko getting that scar on his face, what led to Aang suddenly disappearing for 100 years.
And how'd he get in that fucking iceberg?
Yeah.
So for the 10-word summary, I will go ahead and go first. Mine is, we get 2 big answers, but also 100 questions.
Cryptic. I like it. I'm sitting here with a straightforward, we learn Aang and Zuko's backstories while Sokka nearly dies.
2 very different approaches.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun episode. It's a good episode. I guess fun's not the best word for it.
Yeah, fun is a little off tone.
Yeah.
But it's so good. It's one of the best ones of season 1, easily. And it's big Zuko episode, which, I love.
It's also a big Aang episode. So, do we want to start with the with the Aang story or the Zuko story?
We can start with Aang.
Okay, cool. So, I think a big part of Aang's story is just the utilitarianism aspect of it. Does Aang's happiness matter more than the safety and health and well-being of the rest of the world, right? Aang is the Avatar. The Avatar's fated to have a very key role in the fucking world affairs. There's a war that's happening, and we know at this point that it's been raging for 100 years. And this is at the very beginning of that war. The monks are, they watch CBS and they're like, oh, yeah, there are bad things happening on the other side of the world. We need to get our fix the world button ready to fix the world. Meanwhile, Aang's dad is like, let my son have a life. Let my son be happy and grow and be a well-functioning member of society. But Aang's not just a regular old member of society. That's the simple fact of it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's also a good argument, though, that just in general, rest is just as important as productivity. Because if you're not resting, you're not recharging and doing things that are fun, you will burn out so fast.
Yeah.
And we don't want the Avatar to be 15 years old and completely cynical and miserable.
Right.
And, that's not going to help him do his job either, especially when you are looking at it from the Air Nation perspective and the values of the Air Nomads as far as spirituality being really important. You would think that making sure he is growing as a whole person, they would see how that helps him grow as an Avatar.
Right.
It really seems to be that one grumpy old monk with a lot of power who thinks that he should just train.
Yeah, I think it feels to me like it seemed to me like it was basically Gyatso versus the world with like the old monks. The way I interpreted it was that like, grumpy old monk is the one that like, had the plan or the idea or whatever the fuck. And then when he's like, Gyatso, stop me, the others were like, oh no, that won't fly. And so like they were just like, all of them were like, we need to train Aang. Aang needs to be training right the fuck now. And I
guess I viewed them as a little more neutral.
Yeah.
And like, they see both sides of it and just kind of like lean towards grumpy old monk's side.
Yeah, like ultimately it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter what they said. But we also know a bit about Aang. We know that he is something of a goofball. He is very, very good at learning things. He's like he picked up on the waterbending that Katara was trying to teach him immediately, right? But he does seem to be the kind of person that if we're trying to train him for something and there's a lot of hard work to be done, he's a little bit more reticent to actually like buckle down and get to work. And I'm sure that growing up, they've noticed that, and I would imagine that like they're trying to head that off. They're like, no, we know he's gonna fuck around for a little bit. Can't let that happen. And I don't know. I'm not trying to say that like they're right to do that or anything like that. But yeah,
I mean, it's certainly an understandable perspective. God, it's just a fuck ton of pressure to put on a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I also want to know what their plan was. Like, what exactly did they, like, okay, Aang learns the 4 elements. Now what? We need you to assassinate the Fire Lord. Is that what you're going to say? We need you to fight the entire Fire Nation army.
Yeah, I don't know that they had
a plan.
Too much of a plan. Just that, like, things are starting to get bad. And, like, if we wait till he's 16, he might need to be doing something and not even know waterbending or earthbending or firebending. Yeah, and that would be a problem.
That's true. I mean, they were correct that waiting until 16 was way too late. 16 was not, obviously not, especially knowing that, like, they all died a bit after that. We actually don't know how much later it was, but
yeah,
like we don't like theoretically maybe the Fire Nation actually started 5 years later. We don't actually know. Yeah. So, but like, point is that like they were correct that like Aang was gonna be needed and there was a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I also wanted to talk about the storm as a metaphor. Just the storm is basically representing just like all of these pressures and problems that both Aang and Zuko have relating to their past. Their hang-ups, the things that make them guilty, the things that make them do what they do and feel how they feel. The storm arises in several key places. One is, first of all, like physically, right after the like old man tells Aang off for disappearing for 100 years, and Zuko gets into that fight with his lieutenant for like, for
learn respect.
Yeah. Also, we see a little glimpse of that same storm that caused Aang to go into the Avatar state, right? And that was like the one that made him go 100 years later, whatever. Same thing. Like it's that storm is the pressures. It is the things that he's running from. It's all that catching up to him and causing serious harm. That storm endangered all of the people that were close to to Zuko and Aang. Well, not all of them, but like, yeah, I mean, like it endangered.
Much, yeah.
Like fuck, lightning literally struck Iroh.
Jeez.
But yeah.
And then the theme that seems to really tie them together is like running away versus facing your responsibilities. Yeah. And that looks different for both of them. Obviously, right. Aang's is a lot more literal. I mean, his backstory storm was more literal too. So that makes sense,
right.
Yeah. And just like accepting his responsibility, and then he has to go save people.
Right.
Pretty straightforward. On Zuko's end, it's, him prioritizing his crew and by proxy, like, his country and his people.
Right.
Over the Avatar and his personal, like, goals and ideas of success.
Like, some things are more important than an abusive father's love. Like, it's...
I really liked Iroh's line about, like, well, we have to go directly into the eye of the storm to find safety.
Yeah.
That felt like it really summed up the message of the episode pretty well.
Yeah. No, that's correct. Like,
and that's just, like, I don't know, that's how trauma works. We
love a good trauma story.
Like, you're not going to be able to really heal from these awful fucking events and memories and traumatic experiences by just slapping Band-Aids on all of the, like, symptoms.
Right.
You have to really get to the core of what is causing those feelings, and
yeah. Oh, let's find. There's another thing that I noticed about the storm. Relating to its relation to trauma. A lot of times we don't see these things coming, right? Like, you don't anticipate suddenly being crippled by your own traumas. Sometimes other people notice them before you. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need an old dude like Iroh to be like, there's a storm coming. And you're like, no, it's perfectly fine. We're good. And then you're just in the middle of it. And that just happens. I don't know. I like the storm as a metaphor for the traumas that these two are going through. I don't know. Like, yeah.
I love the old lady with the meteorological knees.
I feel it in my joints. Okay, like, the old lady and the old man were great characters. I fucking loved them. They were so funny.
It was some good goofy moments to cut a pretty serious episode, which we needed.
Yeah, no, it was a breath of fresh air and a very, very heavy episode, honestly. Just shit like, I'm gonna find somebody else and I'll pay him double. Sokka's like, I'll do it. You're hired. See, he's paying double. Who told you that nonsense? I fucking love it. Fish ain't meat. God.
Whoa. That's just like a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk a little bit more about Zuko's backstory?
Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. Ooh, my boy. God, he's so, like, cute and sad and eager when he's young.
Yeah.
He's trying so hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like, the general says, we're gonna sacrifice an entire platoon of people and then hit people, then hit them from behind. And Zuko's like, what no. You're sacrificing living people that care about their country. Mm-hmm. No, that's not okay. That's commendable. That's a very honorable thing to say. And then, like, the Fire Lord invokes a fucking loophole to burn his son. He's like, yeah, because, technically, yeah, I get it, okay? I know that you talked back to a general, right? But it was in my house, right? It was in my house. And so, if I want to burn my son, I'm gonna do it. That's just how it is. Just like shit where you can tell that this man went out of his way to be cruel.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, it's the kind of thing that's important to establish about him as a character, though. That's, like, his one character trait is cruel.
Mm-hmm. It's not important to establish? His face. Still haven't seen the man's face.
I love that. He's this mythical big bad.
Yeah.
And we kind of got our closest view of him this episode.
We got to hear him, too. Right? No, actually, we didn't. No, you're right. We did not get to hear him.
No, he doesn't speak.
Yeah, Iroh just described what he said.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because that's clearly something that he does on purpose, like, in his life. That's the whole point of the big fucking flames in the throne room, right? Is to, like, obscure his identity and make him into more of, like, a mythical, powerful being.
Yeah.
And then in the show, as we slowly, like, learn little bits and pieces more about this mysterious villain, he right now is still just, like, a shadow figure who is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
And I do want to talk about, and I'm going to avoid, I would like to avoid being that guy and nitpicking and shit, but.
Oh boy.
So that Agni Kai, right? Between the Fire Lord and his son and heir to the throne, right? In the, like, that was a full house. That was not an empty room.
Yeah, no, there seemed to be quite a few people there. A lot
of people were in that room, right? Everybody watched the Fire Lord, our supreme leader, burn our supreme leader, Junior. And, like, somehow this lieutenant, who's relatively high up in the military, at least high up enough to be, like, right under Zuko, right? Like, maybe not. Maybe he's a grunt. I mean,
my understanding is that the people who got sent with him are probably also not in very good favor.
You've got a good point, yeah.
Like, he's not going to give high-ranking military people the job of fucking sailing his banished son.
That's true.
Like, son's even a strong word.
Right.
Like, he doesn't even think of him like that.
Yeah. No, you've got a point. I was going to say, like, how do people not know this? If, like, you know, it seems so unusual to me, right? Like, it's weird.
It is weird.
But, I mean, like, news doesn't travel that quickly. We don't know too much about, like, the Fire Lord. I'm sure the Fire Lord is ashamed of his son, right? Like, he does not. So maybe he purposely keeps these kinds of things under wraps. We know that Zhao knew about Zuko, but that's because Zhao had a front row seat.
Yeah, like, obviously, the meta reason that this crewman did not know is so we had a reason for Iroh to tell this story.
Right.
Right? In universe, it, you know, you can kind of explain it away. Like, maybe really important people were only there, and Iroh rules with a fucking iron fist.
Iroh rules with an iron fist? Ooh.
That's the most embarrassing thing I have ever said in my entire life. Rewind.
Okay.
And Ozai rules with an iron fist and just threatens to fucking murder anybody who, like, talks about it.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't want it out for some reason. And he has that power because everybody's terrified of him.
Yeah.
And that's, like, enough. It might be, like, hush-hush among the Fire Nation nobility.
Yeah.
But like, as far as, like, any regular-ass people who get to know him, they haven't heard of it. Zuko's not going to talk about it. No. So, like, training accident.
Accident. Jesus. Yeah.
It's just so good to see his character get slowly fleshed out. And we, you know, start to see these character traits in his younger self and then see them ever so slightly reflected in his current self.
Yeah, like, you can tell Zuko's a very different person. He's very hurt and damaged by the thing that happened to him when he was so young.
He's Angie. But no, like, his young self is so clearly, again, just, like, eager and enthusiastic, and he wants to fucking serve his country, and he cares about people, and he takes his responsibility really seriously, and he just wants to, like, do the right thing and be a good leader.
Yeah, like, when he wanted to go into the war room because one day I'm going to have to be making these decisions. I need to be learning this now. Like, he genuinely cares about his duty. He genuinely believes one day I will be Fire Lord and I will need to be able to make these decisions. And if I'm not learning that shit now, I'm not going to be prepared when the time comes.
And another important Zuko trait, he doesn't fucking think things through. So he just fucking blurted that shit out without one moment of contemplation on whether or not that would be appropriate and if there would be consequences. And the fact that Iroh literally told him, like, you cannot say a fucking word while you're in there. That's the stipulation. One rule.
One rule and you broke it.
But, I mean, that's also, in some ways, an example of him putting, like, his people over himself.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't thinking about the personal consequences. The only thing that mattered to him in that moment was saving this platoon of soldiers.
What a waste of resources. God. Anyway, I mean, like, I'm not a military strategist. I just generally balk at willingly throwing away people. People are labor. People are intelligence. People are lots of things, and just tossing them out for. But I'm not a military strategist, and that scene was literally only there to burn Zuko. That was it.
Yeah, not really the point whether it was a good plan or not from a strategic perspective.
Yeah.
It's very, I think, plausible and in character for Fire Nation soldiers to just be chill with doing something that cruel, right?
Yeah.
Or, not soldiers, but the generals.
Yeah,
these
officers and shit.
People
Commanders.
in charge.
Either way.
So good. Because I know we've all been wondering, we've been hinting and alluding to it the whole series, and now finally we know how he got his scar.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just going to inform the entire way that you see him the whole time.
Okay. I wanted to talk about whether what Iroh's doing is a good idea now. Mainly, the main thing I want to focus on is that he said things will never return to normal. Mm-hmm. After the old man was like, he's trying to find the Avatar to bring things back to normal, whatever. So like, what does Iroh expect to get? Like, what does Iroh expect for Zuko to capture Aang? Does Iroh assuming Zuko does capture Aang, what does Iroh think is going to happen after that? Because he said the important thing is that Zuko has hope. So, like, let's say Zuko theoretically captures Aang for real, like, got him. Does Iroh just, like, sneakily break him out and is like, you got away. Now we have to keep going. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, his strategy for the past few years, at least, I think has been to just be 100% supportive and let Zuko work through things at his own pace and try to give him like space and comfort and advice when he needs it, and just try to be a good role model and let him come to terms with this again in his own time. Because up until, I don't know, like a month ago in world time, maybe
something like that,
pretty recently, he was under the impression that the Avatar was, like, never to be fucking seen again, basically. Like, there was no chance of him finding the Avatar in his mind.
Yeah.
So he was like, we can go on this quest for as long as Zuko needs to until he realizes that it's, futile.
Right. Yeah.
But then when they do find Aang, you start to wonder. Like
what's
maybe
happening?
You need to change your strategy?
What's the
maybe
plan?
You should be a little more proactive in trying to get him to stop this fucking suicide quest. Like,
yeah, like, because again, like, it doesn't seem like Iroh believes that catching the Avatar is the solution. Yeah. So if it's not, we need to find the actual solution.
It's questionable both from a interpersonal Iroh as Zuko's like guardian father figure role model, and just from a more general moral perspective.
Right.
Like, you're really ready to, like, destroy the chances of the world.
I mean,
by getting rid of the Avatar.
We haven't seen Iroh's loyalties really tested. The only thing we've got is that Iroh used to be a general for the Fire Nation. So maybe he's fine with the Fire Nation winning, and he's like we don't know these things though, because it's never explored. Yeah.
I just think even, at this point in these 12 episodes, he seems to be generally a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we have viewed him the whole show.
Yeah.
As, like, he is a good person. He's a kind person. You would expect him to be generally good,
Mm-hmm.
but yet he is actively helping Zuko do something really bad for the world. And so that's an interesting, just like moral dilemma to think about when it comes to Iroh, the character.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, pretty prominent in this episode specifically. But yeah, the whole idea of giving people hope was another, like, theme that crossed between the two storylines. I mean, you know, Aang is the one doing the hope giving in both, but it's different.
Aang is our little hope. He's our little ball of hope. He just flies around and he gives it to everyone, like Santa Claus on Christmas.
Which is funny because the fandom really likes to make fun of Katara for being all about hope, but not Aang. Wonder why that is.
She is the heart.
She is the heart. I am just saying. We had a whole episode just now about how Aang is like the bringer of hope to the world. And that's his whole thing. And nobody's like, that's so like silly and dramatic. But they say that about Katara.
Oh, I don't think there's any. I really couldn't come up with a single, not a single one.
Mm-mm.
There's no explanation whatsoever. Nope.
It's not because she's a woman.
No, that's got nothing to do with it. There are no explanations. Yeah, I mean, that's most of the things I wanted to talk about in the non-spoiler section. Just like, you know, good shit. Good shit.
Such a good episode.
Good shit.
All right, so let's look at the golden fuck.
I mean, I told you this before. I didn't like any spot for the golden fuck. Episode seemed a little too heavy for it, and the funny parts didn't have a funny enough fuck moment. So I have no nominees for the golden fuck.
I mean, I have 3, but none of them are very good.
Yeah.
You know, the very end there when Appa like shakes himself off and everyone's like, eh. Somebody could say fuck there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that would be funny, I guess. And it works because that's like a lighthearted moment at the end of the dark episode. Another one is when nobody wants to hear about Sokka's dream. I don't want to fucking tell you anyway. I think would be
that's okay.
Pretty funny because we haven't gotten into any of the serious stuff by that point.
That's true.
Somehow the best one, but also the worst one, would be I'm not, but I still don't fucking want to.
No, I love that one. I'm too young to go. I'm too young to die. I'm not, but I still don't fucking wanna. It's not bad.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. So like, no, that's a dumb idea.
Do it anyway.
I was gonna say, what if we introduce a bronze fuck?
Okay.
You know, the golden one every episode that we had, right?
Silver one.
The silver one was to the Cabbage Man.
Yeah.
And then we can just give out a bronze fuck if it's not very good. Or like if it's to a side character.
Okay, but like how does that work for the golden fuck tabulations?
I don't know.
Okay, well we're making the shit up as we go
didn't
along.
think about it too hard, and I literally said it's a bad idea.
Well, yeah, let's do it then.
Okay.
Yeah, bronze fuck. Why not? Yeah, we're doing it.
Okay, bronze fuck to the fish ain't meat asshole fisherman.
Bronze fuck to the fish ain't meat asshole. Hell yeah. Down. Good. Done. It's happened.
But I still don't fucking want it.
It's official. Bronze fuck. Hell yeah.
All right. Spoiler time.
Spoiler section. So we got
quite a few fun little reveals this episode that are just kind of weird and mysterious, and you might not think twice about them without spoilers, but with spoilers, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Iroh lightning bending.
Lightning bending. Of course, we just kind of like, you know, we mentioned it and didn't really go into it in the non-spoiler section, but like, this is another thing that the first time I watched, I didn't really pay attention to. I feel like I just wasn't watching at the time, because there's no way you can watch lightning strike a dude and not react. But like, he redirected lightning. Did it look like he used a different kind of like technique than normal?
I don't think so.
Okay. It looked a little different to me, like the animators hadn't fully decided how exactly like the technique would work.
But, I mean, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't think he did the full like
down
sweep of the arm down and then back up, but he kind of like caught it and then
tossed it out. Yeah.
Right. I'm acting it out as if anyone can see that.
You catch it and throw it back. Do it again, Jesse.
No.
She's doing it right now.
You're a fucking liar.
Would I lie to you, audience?
Yes.
You're not the audience. She would lie to you.
Oh my
anyway.
God. They know better. They've had 10 whole episodes with you.
You don't know them. You don't know them.
I have faith in our audience.
Okay, anyway.
Also, at this point, it's mostly people we know. And they do know you. And they know you're a fucking liar.
But yeah. It was fun. Like I love the lightning bending. We also saw Azula.
Yes.
Got to see Azula for the first time. Or it's the second time. I think we saw her in another flashback of the exact same scene.
Did we? Have we had a flashback of that scene?
Yeah. They've definitely. I think it was the episode with Commander Zhao where he was like, you know, remember the last time you fought a master? And he's like, I'll never forget. And they cut to like an abridged version of it. But I'm pretty sure they showed specifically Zhao, Iroh, Azula, and Iroh looking away. Not certain now. Like I'm now a little less certain than I was a few moments ago. Either way,
I'm also not certain.
Yeah. So they showed Azula. They showed the lightning bending.
Her real scary grin.
Yeah.
Which just, I have a lot of feelings about how like malicious they make her in this flashback, but I don't know if now is the best time to bring them up.
We'll talk about it later. I also have feelings about the malice, and I feel like we are going to disagree to some level. We'll talk. Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Azula and her portrayal and like the way she is.
Spoiler alert: I love Azula. I'm an Azula apologist.
I love Azula.
Female villains are sexy.
I don't disagree with most of the things she said. I love Azula. She's a great character. And I mean, like, I believe the malice, at least at that point in her life. I just feel like that probably emerged later. Sure.
That's mainly my opinion.
Okay.
Right? Is that I don't think she was quite that level yet. I think that a lot of what made her that way was being left alone with Ozai.
Sure. We can rewind and do it. We can do this now. I don't mind.
No, we don't need to go into it, but okay. I do feel like now that we have talked for like 3 minutes about how we're not going to talk about it, I should probably state my main point. Okay. Which I did.
Fine.
And now we can move on.
We also had foreshadowing with Aang and his like getting a little upset and airbending near the fire.
Yep.
And then Katara's like, whoa, hot cinders. Like there's an event that happens later this season. Pretty sure it's this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be this season because that's when she learned she can heal with waterbending. Where Aang does not know to calm the fuck down around fire, and he burns Katara. It's a really quick throwaway moment that doesn't mean shit when you're first watching it, and when you watch it the second time, you're like, oh, again, Aang. Well, not like again, but not again.
Yeah, I mean it's very specifically like foreshadowing that, but also a bigger problem where he can't control any of his emotions, goes into the fucking avatar state when he's upset, hurts people around him, and it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and that's just, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is an entire thing that he struggles with later on. when he realizes that he has problems with his control. He's scared of the most dangerous element, fire, specifically because it exacerbates the main issue, which is that he's very powerful and he doesn't want to hurt people, but he can if he's not careful, and he has not always been careful.
No, he's not a very careful person. That is not one of his personality traits.
No, that's not. And
who gets the brunt of it? Who gets hurt? Katara.
Sokka.
What?
I'm kidding, obviously.
Okay. I couldn't tell what level of kidding you were.
No, I'm kidding. Like, Sokka does get some shit, but, like, usually it's not explicitly like Aang is having a terrible emotion and hurts something or someone around him. But yeah.
No, it's just always Katara, the one who either, like, gets hurt or has to fucking calm him down and pick up the pieces and be in charge of his emotions.
You good? You sound like you're mad at Aang.
I'm not mad at Aang, per se. Because, again, he's a child. It's not that Aang is, like, wrong or we should expect more or this isn't a normal and interesting and reasonable, like, struggle and character arc to have. What bothers me is the part where Katara is seen as this, like, fucking savior who's always around to tell him everything's gonna be okay and calm him down and feel like she needs to be monitoring his emotions and keep him happy all the time because if he gets upset, it's dangerous. I don't like that. For a number of reasons. I don't like that in general. I think that is a dynamic that, I don't know, I don't want to say fosters abuse, but, like, you see a lot in abusive relationships. This is not me calling Aang abusive. Do not come for me. I am saying that often when somebody is being abused, they also have this need to, like, control and manage other people's emotions, right? So that dynamic makes me uncomfortable.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying that, like, the dynamic is one person has to control another person's emotions. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Who needs to control who else's emotions in this one, specifically?
I mean, Katara is responsible for Aang's emotions.
Okay. No, it sounded to me more like you would have to say, I don't think Katara is abusive, because generally in that dynamic, it sounds like the person that's in Katara's role is the one that's being the abuser. No. Okay.
No, it's the idea of, like, having to walk on eggshells around someone and, like, constantly worrying and putting your own needs and your own opinions and your own feelings, like, brushing those away, pushing them down. They're not important because it's your job to keep the other person happy and the other person calm.
Okay. That makes sense. I like the fact that that's never an actual issue, though. The worst it ever gets is, like, Aang gets into the Avatar state and Katara's, like, actually caring for him and, like, wants to, like, make sure he's okay. It never becomes the kind of thing where he is, like, wholly dependent and we have to, like, that's not even true. We have to do that with Appa when Appa's missing. Yeah.
And it's, again, because he is a child and he is going through, like, reasonable extreme emotions, and this is a character arc and thing that he works on and deals with throughout the entire show. Like, he's not doing anything wrong. But it makes me uncomfortable to see Katara acting in that role anyway.
Right.
And once again, this is the kind of thing where this dynamic makes sense with a parent and child. This is what people are talking about for the most part. Not for the most part, but this is one of the big things that people are talking about when they say Katara acts as a mother to Aang. Like, yes, she is motherly to the entire group and kind of, like, cooks and cleans and takes care of everyone. But with Aang specifically, she is constantly, like in the waterbending scroll, like we'll see fucking over and over again, constantly putting him and his needs and his feelings over her own and just having to fucking push shit down. And it's a one-way support system for the most part. And that is a parent-child relationship. Like, that is the one, like, kind of normal, natural place in our, I don't know, society, social lives, where you expect one person to be completely responsible for the other one. Yeah. Yeah. That's not a romantic dynamic.
We never see... Do we ever see Aang taking care of Katara emotionally? I mean, if it happens, we'll see it, but I can't remember any off the top of my head.
Because, like, I don't know, Southern Raiders is, like...
That's Zuko. That's Zuko helping. That's Zuko supporting Katara.
That's not what I was going to say, but you're not wrong. I was just going to say that that's one of the first times that she really, like, asserts herself and her needs and, I don't know, addressing her own trauma personally. That's, like, the biggest example of that. And Aang just wants to, like, preach to her and tell her what to do and does not listen or offer support. Right? Yeah. He's just trying to be like, no, it's okay. You can forgive. That's his entire advice. And she's like, no, you're not listening to me. Yeah. Right? That's the whole plot of that episode. And so that's the big chance that he gets to reciprocate with the emotional support. And he does not. Yeah. But you know who does. So on the topic of Iroh's support strategy, I think that we can go into that more. Right. Because he does evolve. Right. He does change his strategy through the series. And I think this is kind of a big, like, step or turning point in that, in this episode. Yeah, like, it's very clear that Iroh up until season 2 has been more or less, I'm not going to actively oppose the Fire Nation, but I'm not going to go out of my way to, like, help them either, right? The closest he ever goes to helping the Fire Nation is literally what he's doing now, helping Zuko capture the Avatar, the anti-Fire Nation button. But, like, we do know that later on, he's like, I'm a refugee. I'm joining I'm collecting my old dude masters, and we're just going to fuck shit up in Ba Sing Se if you don't mind. And he does. Like, we get a good buff Santa moment. We get Iroh fighting against the fucking Dai Li at the end of season 2. It goes from passivity to, like, active opposition. And I think you're right. Like, this is a part of it. Him saying, like, this is what's happening to Zuko. This is Zuko's past. This is where Zuko is now. Seeing the storm, seeing the Avatar, and realizing that, like, this dynamic can't be permanent. Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, often fall into the trap, I guess, of thinking of Iroh as a pretty static character. Yeah. And not someone who has much of an arc through the show. Yeah. But when you look at it through this lens and in how he chooses to support Zuko versus, like, support the, I don't know, resistance generally. The not Fire Nation part of the war. Yeah. Right? Because at the end of season 1, he's still actively helping Zuko on his quest by, like, sending him out in that little boat. Yeah. And then that almost gets Zuko fucking killed, which is, like, fuck Lu-10 Part 2. He's not about that. Can't have that happen, And once again, that's, like, a big, like, oh god, what's the word I'm looking for? Revelation? Metamorphosis. I want to say, like, slap in the face. Like, it is a sign that he is in the wrong direction. What word am I looking for? It's fine. It's not that important. But yeah, that is a huge sign to him that he's going in the wrong direction, right? I think he is clearly seeing the parallels to his actions and his priorities, putting his own son in danger and eventually killing him. And now when he's trying to support Zuko, that almost gets him killed. And to him, that is a big turning point, I think, where he has to be like, okay, well, I can't just blindly, unconditionally support this anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to be more active in trying to, like, help Zuko grow and help him get past this, because this isn't working. Yeah, I
also like the fact that, like, we have this mentor figure who isn't static. I think the reason why a lot of us see Iroh as a static character is because generally mentor figures are responsible for training exactly one person, then dying, and that's it. They finished their character growth. Like, we see them after they have grown as a character. The most we see is like them younger before their character growth, right? Like, but the story's not about them; it's about whoever they're training. That's not Iroh. That's all that's happening here.
No.
Iroh is a mentor figure, but he's also a character, and in and of his own right. And I like, that we like here again. It's more of just a start of it all. The biggest thing that we notice is that, wait a minute, what are you doing here, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, what is your plan here? Mm-hmm. But like, we also see over time that his plan evolves. What he plans to do, what he's doing with his life changes with his circumstances and with what the dangers that he and Zuko face.
I don't know, so this is not super important, but the flashback scenes for Aang, to me, raise a lot of questions about Air Nomad society and, like, what the fuck is going on.
What are your questions? What was...
I mean, why are there no women there?
That's always a big
number one, right?
Yeah.
But, like, they can just send him to a different temple to train.
Yep. I mean,
like, how is this set up? How do they fucking survive if everyone's just there being monks? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got a point, though. Like, first of all, they're agricultural, so, like, I'm sure they've got, like, plants and shit growing. But, like, where are the women? Aang seemed to be the oldest child there. There seemed to be two age groups, 12 and under and 89 and up. And that's it. So that's all we saw. And, like...
That's true!
And, like, I'm confused by that.
It doesn't make any sense.
He's like, we're sending you to, I think, like, Aang's in the Southern Temple. I think he's like, we're sending to the Western Temple or some shit like that. Like, there are 4 temples.
I think that's Eastern, but not important.
Yeah, there are 4 temples. We visit each of them during the actual course of the show. And he's like,
Aang's familiar with all of them.
Yeah, so Aang's been to each of the temples before, and so they're like, we're sending you to this one, and I'm guessing that one, like, that one is from the context we know that one is the best one for training Aang, or at least it's a better one for training Aang than the one we're at now. So, like,
yeah, I mean, I guess they said that just because Gyatso's not there.
Oh, that could be true. I mean, like,
but, like, it still is a place where he can train.
Yeah.
So like
what
is the distinction between the different temples? Why are people at one, not another? Like, they're nomads, so that explains a lot of the kind of absence of everyday people.
Yeah.
Like, most people travel between the temples and around the world and live nomadically, and then they've got groups of monks who mostly station themselves at the temples.
Yeah.
But, like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Like, it seems like this is... just, like, from what I see, this is... The Southern Temple seems to be a retirement home / daycare, and that's...
I mean...
And it's like, is that it?
Only for men.
But only for men.
No girls allowed.
The Northern Temple has all the women. And like, I don't know.
I know. Metatextually, it is just the writers not fucking thinking about it.
Yeah. Because,
nobody thought. They were like, it doesn't matter. It's they didn't consider because
it just wasn't that important. It doesn't seem to be.
Hates women.
But, like, Avatar Yang Chen is the only proof that we have, like, you know, at least I can't even say I'm thinking right now about whether I have seen a female airbender that is not Avatar Yang Chen.
I mean, not in the original series.
That's true. We did, of course, see them in Korra.
We do have
Aang's granddaughter.
Iki and
granddaughters. I said multiple.
Jinora.
There you go.
Right. I don't know. For all of the specific and purposeful and intricate world building that they do, it just gets a little annoying when it's like, oh, we just ignored whether or not there were women monks or how any of that works. It's fine. They're all dudes. We don't have to think about it.
Yeah. Maybe they were at the temple. They were just all off screen. Like maybe all of the women were doing their makeup at the time.
Oh, good God. I don't know. In general, I do find, like, the society really interesting to think about, though.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love the way they got it handled. Like,
Oh, I was just going to say, I think they're all polyamorous.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly they don't have a nuclear family unit. Like, Aang doesn't really know who his parents are. He's just been living with the monks since he showed signs of airbending.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, like, I love the fact that they're... Like, you know, every nation has like locations where they are located. The waterbenders have the Northern Southern Water Tribe, and then there's like the Swamp Guys. Earth Kingdoms have basically Asia, and the Fire Nation has like their really fucking awesome islands, right? And the Air Nomads said, we found 4 mountains that we really like. These ones specifically. Those 4 mountains are really cool, and we're going to those. And we'll just kind of like jump through them. We don't really give a fuck about like borders and shit. We can just what are you gonna do? Catch us and kill all of us? Damn. Anyway.
I don't know. Just other things, like I'm interested in how they are vegetarian as a society but don't seem to have any kind of agriculture.
Yeah, like they should, like, you know, in our minds we know they have agriculture. They have to. Right? Like that's gotta be how it works. But we don't see them growing it really. Or else I don't remember it. I know that Aang was like our fruit pies in export when he's talking to that one researcher in the desert. But yeah.
It raises a lot of questions, some of which are interesting to think about, some of which are frustrating.
We got a little bit of, you know, they indicated even in this episode that like Aang is a master. Like, I mean, like Aang's the only child with airbender tattoos.
Yes.
Right? And we know that this is because you get your tattoos when you become a master. Aang's a master. How did he become a master? He developed the air scooter, which he's showing the other kids. Which is a really cool way to get to become officially named a master, even if I have like questions. It's like, wait, so if I just like invent a new kick but don't learn shit else, huh? Anyway,
I mean, I'm sure you gotta be real good at it too.
I'm sure they've got a bar, their own like minimum competency test for it.
I mean, it seems like they just like decide.
Yeah.
Probably. There's not really a strict rule. They just give them tattoos when they wanna. All right, so that's all we have today for Book 1, Chapter 12, The Storm. We hope you'll join us next time when we talk about Book 1, Chapter 13, The Blue Spirit.
Oh, man. Yes. Okay.
Until then, please follow us on Twitter @SpoilersAreGood. We would love to hear from you.
We also have an email address, right?
We do. You can email us your thoughts or questions or anything like that to spoilersaregoodpodcast@gmail.com.
Cool. We have a phone number, right?
No.
Damn. Well, do we have... Damn it, I can't even think of a good joke. Okay, fine.
Carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon. Fuck. Damn, I'm not smart enough. You got that. Until next time, remember, just because it's spoiled doesn't mean it's rotten.
Bye.
Bye.